This next lesson is on exponents. If you're looking at exponents, you got base, the number multiplied repeatedly, and the exponent, the power that tells how many times to multiply. So basically we're looking at our objective or essential question is how can you use exponents to write numbers? Well, first off, you got to know a power is a product of a repeated factors. So that would be the base of a power is the common factor. And the exponent of a power indicates the number of times the base is used as a factor. If you're looking at your example there, you've got 3 to the 5th power. So if you're looking at that, 3 to the 5th is considered the power. And then the base would be the number, the big number at the bottom. That's your base. That's the number that's going to tell us what number we're multiplying by. And then the exponent is going to be the smaller number, the 5 in this case. That's going to be your exponent. That's going to tell you how many times you're going to multiply this. So 3 to the 5th power is going to look like 3, well, maybe I should use a color that you can see a little better. 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. 3, 5 times. That's what that means. Now when we're looking at that is when we're looking at the number of kits, cats, sacks, and wives as a power. If you've ever heard this nursery rhyme, it's as I was going to say knives, I met a man with 7 wives. Each wife had 7 sacks. Each sack had 7 cats. Each cat had 7 kids. Kits, cats, sacks, wives. How many were going to say knives? So that's really just an exponent problem. When you're looking at this, you met a man with 7 wives. And each wife had 7 sacks. And each sack had 7 cats. And each cat had 7 kits. Kits, cats, sacks, wives. How many were going to say knives? So 7 times 7 times 7 times 7. Which if we wrote it in exponential form is 7 to the 1, 2, 3, 4th power. So let's look at some more examples. Write each product using exponents. Now I want you to be careful when you're looking at your base having a negative number. You must always, always, always keep the base with the parentheses around it because it's going to make a difference. Because negative 7 is used as a factor 3 times, its exponent is going to be 3. So you've got your base of negative 7 with parentheses around it. Make sure you got those parentheses with an exponent of 3. So that's how you're going to write it using exponents. Now here we've got pi times r times r times r. Just because they're not numbers doesn't mean that they're not still a base. Whether it's a number or a symbol or a letter representing an unknown, you're still going to treat it the same. So our first one has a base of pi. Because pi is used as a factor 2 times, its exponent is 2. Because r is used as a factor 3 times, its exponent is going to be 3. So you're going to see here that you're going to have pi squared r to the 3rd. Because 2 pi's, 3 r's. Pi squared r cubed. 2 is squared, 3 is cubed. Now on this next problems, we're asked to evaluate. When you're asked to evaluate an expression, that means they want you to solve for it. Find out what the answer is. Now again, remember how I emphasized that if the base is a negative number that you put parentheses around it? Here I'm going to show you why. right here, we've got a base of negative 2. So that means you're going to take negative 2 times itself 4 times. So negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. And you're going to do that. You're going to actually end up with a positive 16. Now in part B here, if you're looking at the base is actually just 2 because there's no parentheses around it. So what it's really saying is take the opposite of 2 to the 4th power. So you keep that negative out front, and then you're going to take 2 times itself 4 times. So you got 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which is actually going to be negative 16, because remember we've got that negative out front. So 2 times 2 times 2 is 16. We got that negative out front, that negative 1 that we need to distribute, pass on. It's a negative 16. Now, to look at evaluating this expression, we have to include where we start looking at our order of operations, too. The first thing we need to do, though, is to take care of that exponent. That base of 3 4 times is going to be 81. So we've got 3 plus 2 times 81. Okay, we've got that taken care of for exponents. The next one I see is multiply. So we got 2 times the 81, which is going to give us 162. Now we're left with just adding, and we end up with 165. Now again, we follow our order of operations. Don't see parentheses, so evaluate the exponents. So we're looking at 3 cubed is 27, minus 8 squared is 64, divided by 2. Now, following our PEMDAS, we multiply divide from left to right. So we need to take the 64 divided by 2, which is going to give us 32. So you get 27 minus 32, which gives us a final answer of negative 5. Now, looking at a real-world situation, we're looking at one of these, which I think looks like a lot of fun. In sphering, a person is secured inside a small hollow sphere that is surrounded by a larger sphere. The space between the spheres is inflated with air. What is the volume of the inflated space? Now when you're looking at that, what you're going to end up doing is we're going to take this outside circle, find the volume of it, and subtract this inside circle because there's no air in here. Because all the air is going to be in between those two. So when we're looking at that, remember that finding the volume is 4/3 pi r cubed. So we've got 4/3 pi r cubed. Remember that the radius is going to be half the diameter. So you divide the diameter, which in this case the large circle is 3, small circle is 2. We're going to divide those by 2. So we end up with, for the larger circle, we got 4/3 pi, 3/2 cubed. Whenever we do that, you can put it in the calculator with parentheses around it, or go ahead and make sure you cube the numerator and the denominator both. So when evaluating that, we get 4/3 pi, 3 cubed is 27, 2 cubed is 8. Now when we're doing the multiply, we end up with negative 9/2 pi. Now for the inner circle, we're going to do the same thing, only the radius ends up being 1, so 1 cubed is still just 1. So we end up with 4/3 pi for the inside circle. So to find just this outside area right here that's full of air, this inner tube donut part right there, you're going to take the outer circle and subtract the inner circle. So the volume is going to be the 9/2 pi minus the 4/3 pi, which is actually 19/6 pi, or if you go ahead and take 19/6 and multiply it by pi, you're going to get about 10 cubic meters. There's 4 more questions for you to try on your own. When you're done with those, bring them up to me to check, and then you'll start your homework on Clever.